Hello, and welcome back to another encouraging, inspiring, and including episode of the Achieving Unity Leadership System weekly podcast, a dialogue where we help to turn complexity into execution, chaos into connection, and our purposes into action. Nothing gets done without action. I am your host, Mark Entrick, and founder of the Achieving Unity Leadership System, which is available at www.achievingunity.com. It is dedicated to all leaders, personally and professionally, in improving their lives, their family life, and their business life. We must remember that unity is not a soft skill like leadership. It is a leadership discipline. It is not emotional. It is intentional. Each week, we bring together leaders, innovators, and changemakers who are helping others create stronger relationships, healthier organizations, and better futures through unity, through leadership, and purposeful action. Today, I am honored to welcome Grant McGaugh, CEO and founder of STAR BDM. We'll find more about that later. Author of First Light, The Brave Path to Authentic Leadership, creator of the Brave Blueprint Strategy, and host of the popular Follow the Brand podcast. Excuse me. Grant has spent more than 3 decades helping organizations navigate healthcare technology, branding, innovation, and leadership. More importantly, he helped people discover that authentic leadership begins by understanding who we are before we start trying to influence others. Today, we'll also be discussing minority mental health awareness, authentic leadership, resilience, personal healing, AI innovation, and how leaders can create a lasting legacy by aligning their beliefs with purposeful action. We'll also talk about his Omaha AI Marketing Accelerator. So as you listen, I invite you to think about your own journey and share your comments, your questions, and any other ideas you have as we go along. If you're watching this later, please keep in contact with us. Link with us on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Let's continue our conversation. But first, before we dive into this delightful dialogue, let me briefly introduce my company, Reality Focused Dynamics. It's where it all began. As you see on the first slide, it's about real conversations for leaders navigating division, frustration, and change. What we run into each and every day, and what we want to make sure that we improve going forward. Leadership sometimes feels harder than it should. Why is it hard? A lot of times because disconnection is growing. Frustration is draining the people, draining the teams. Good intentions are colliding with real world pressures. Again, unity is not a soft skill, it's a leadership discipline and a leadership strategy. So, what do we mean by achieving unity? Well, first off, it's encouraging progress without enabling dysfunction. Help people go forward and grow forward without just agreeing with everything that comes along. Stand up, speak up, and inspire others. Inspire their actions without forcing that agreement. Help others understand that they have a voice, and that inspiration will give them that excitement to take that next step forward. And then including voices, all voices, while maintaining accountability. We are all able and capable of accomplishing great goals. Let's keep it together, working together as we are building better businesses, better lives, and a better world, one conversation at a time. And I am your host, Mark Entricken, founder of Reality Focused Dynamics and the Achieving Unity Leadership System. I work with leaders, teams, and families, and couples navigating conflict. We'll make sure that we're all handling that change, handling the complexities that we see, helping us all move forward with clarity, with unity, and sustainable action. So let's talk about it. What are we We are focused, Focused. So what does that mean? Let's go to the next slide and talk about it just a little bit more in detail. Focused is about, number one, the F, to facilitate. Facilitate those tough conversations that build trust. That doesn't mean be rude. It doesn't mean to be angry. We want to get the anger out of here. Anger is nothing more than actions not gaining effective results. What we want to do is facilitate those tough conversations to make sure we all understand. And we want to understand that that's where the O comes in, common ground and shared purpose. We all are working together to be clear in our communication and our agreements, which means we're going to be unified action across our differences. Whatever those differences might be, we can work together, just putting the two and two together so it becomes sustainable. Sustainable means results that last, something that we can sustain and continue working on, because that is our execution. That's where the E comes in. Consistent and responsible action. It's where we are, where we need to go forward, because that is the delivery that we create through inspired growth and lasting change. Remember that. That's focused. We need to be focused. You can get in contact with me at 303 Focused. For those of you who remember the old dial tone on your screens, it's even on your phone. You can dial the FOCUSED 303 Focus and call me anytime. I would love to hear from you. So again, contact us. Let's promote clear, unified, sustainable action starting now, starting today. Reach out for my coaching, my courses, my workshops, speaking engagements, the ones that promote unity and leadership. Achieving unity is the path to stronger relationships, inspired leadership, and lasting change. In today's world of uncertainty, and there's a lot of that today, unity is not a luxury. It is a necessity. But before we get started, let's talk about our next few podcasts. Again, this is a weekly podcast. On 7/22, Dr. Skino Webb is going to be here talking about personal freedom and leadership responsibility. On 7/29, Louis Swartz is going to be here. Freedom without direction versus freedom with purpose. We need that purpose. Then on 8/19, we have Daniel Aaron here talking about spiritual leadership. So again, put us on your calendar. Come back here and talk to us each week, or every Friday. The recording will be available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MarkEntrican. Let's keep in touch. There is my QR code. So please, if you got your camera handy, take a picture of the QR code. It takes you to my website. Let's connect. Let's talk. Give me feedback. Let's work together. Let's be focused on what we're doing today and tomorrow. Now here comes the important ones. We're going to talk to Mr. Grant McGaugh today. To learn more about him, that QR code on the left. If you got your camera handy, take a picture of this screen right now. You can learn more about Grant on that your QR code. And on the next, how to connect with Grant. His website is I don't know, you better read on my screen, the 5starbdm.com, or you can connect with him greatly on the email at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Connect with him. Learn more about what he does and how he's ready to work with you. Again, he's our guest. Grant McGaugh is our guest today, and he's going to talk to us more as being the CDO and founder of the 5-Star BDM. He's an author, a speaker, and creator of the Brave Blueprint strategy, who helps individuals and organizations lead with authenticity, resilience, and purpose. Drawing on more than 30 years of leadership in healthcare technology, branding, and emerging technologies, Grant empowers leaders to align their beliefs, their vision. Sorry, my screen jumped. Their vision, actions to create meaningful impact. His work blends personal transformation with innovation, equipping people to build lasting success for their organizations and communities. So please help me welcome Mr. Grant McGaugh. Hey, Grant, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Mark. Good to be here.
I am so glad you are here. Thank you for your time coming to join us. Tell us more about what you do. I've just been so impressed with reading about you when I found what you're doing and working with people. Can you give us a minute, introduce yourself, kind of
Oh,
share how your journey began?
number one, yes, my name is Grant McGaugh. I'm currently in my hometown of Omaha, Nebraska. I was born here, born and raised in Omaha, Nebraska, and graduated Omaha Northwest High School in I think it was, I got to remember it so far back, 1981, right? And then I went to the Varney Institute of Technology down in Kansas City. So I have a technological background. And from there, I moved out east for a while in the Boston area, Nashville, New Hampshire for about 8 years. And then I migrated down to Miami, Florida for the last 30 years. And that's where I stayed. I raised my family and been, 3+ decades there. And then after some different challenges that happened in my life, losing my brother and my two best friends, it was
Okay.
time now to return back to Omaha, Nebraska for my roots, to actually get bury some of the things that just happened, reconnect with my own origin story, so to speak. And it also became an opportunity to bring back some of the things that I've learned over the last 30 years to my community to help underserved communities in North and South Omaha to understand how to utilize business intelligence platforms like AI to enhance their business. So that's what I've been doing for the last year since I've been back. And I'm so happy that I met you and that we're on the show today.
I am so glad to. Grant, it's amazing what you do and how you're helping people. There's just so much value in what you're doing to see your goals and what's the priorities that matter to you. And what is well, let's talk a little bit about your Omaha AI. That's one of your top goals. Did I hear you mention September?
Yeah, yeah. So when I first came back, I had to figure out, okay, what type of business do I want to operate in the Omaha area? And I thought through that and I said, because AI, it's been around now maybe 2, 3 years, but I've been working with a organization in Miami-Dade County for the last 5 years with the BizHack Academy, showing small business owners how to utilize digital marketing, digital platforms, eventually into AI enablement for a long time. We did it so well, we was actually asked during the Biden administration to present during for the SBA. So the Small Business Administration had us come in front of Congress and do a presentation of how we were so successful in Miami-Dade County. Remember, this is coming out of COVID and showing business owners all of a sudden they were doing a lot of in person, whether it was in person business, in person meeting, door to door. Is like, hey, I'm closed up now. How do I operate digitally? And as you know, as you look at the Nasdaq, you look at some of these stock exchanges. What are the biggest companies out there that are doing business that are on digital platforms? Whether it's a Uber, it's an Airbnb, it's an eBay, it's an Amazon. I can go on and on and on. So, an understanding how to utilize digital platforms for commerce is a big deal. And I think that our underrepresented communities, specifically in our Black and Brown world, are not utilizing this to their fullest extent. AI now changes the game. So I knew that business enterprise applications are now available to the common person, but it has to be packaged and being able to then understand how to utilize this, not as a threat, but as an advantage. And once you understand that, you can now take your business and make it 3x, 10x. You make one person make them act like five. So if you start worrying about AI is going to replace me, no, but someone utilizing AI will. Just like if you
Exactly.
don't know Microsoft, you don't know Google platforms, you don't know how to operate a Zoom, you're going to be replaced by somebody who does. So you need
Well
to
said.
understand these tools and do it at an effective level. So that's the reason why I came. This will be my first cohort that's going to be available in September. I'm working with an organization called Omaha 100, which is a CDFI, and they are poised to help small business owners as well as home ownership in our communities to get to that next level. And this is a training opportunity to make that happen.
That is excellent. I love what you're doing, the whole growth. And the point that you just made, expressed many times, it keeps coming up that is AI going to take away jobs? There are a lot of jobs that AI is going to be able to do, but the people that are going to be replaced or the ones that are going to lose their jobs are the ones who do not know how to use AI.
Yeah.
They're the ones that's going to be saying, well, what do I do? Well, AI is the best way AI can train you on AI.
Yes.
And one
100%.
of the 100%, thank you. And one of the things that I do want it, and I ask everyone, if you use AI at all, go out there and say on your favorite AI, the one you use the most, just go out there and say, we've been, I've been using you AI for however long. What do you know about me? Or what can you tell me about me? And that may seem strange for a lot of people to be typing into a computer. Just go into whichever AI you use, and we were talking earlier, I do use 7 of them. But go into one of them, the one you use the most. Just say, what do you know about me? And what can you tell me about me based on what we've worked on over the past time? And
Mhm.
just see what it comes back. It's quite interesting. People like yourself, like myself, I've used it for several years now. It had a long story to tell about me, most of it good.
Right story. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It was several pages long, but it was positive. And of course, my this podcast was a big help on that and the things that I do. But AI is so much in our lives today, isn't it?
100%. It's always kind of been there. We just never realized it. These platforms like Amazon, even Facebook, have been using business intelligence for a long time to understand how to market to us successfully, where to place product and services. This has been going on a long time. That's why I said enterprise business applications now are now what I would call consumer grade. Consumer grade is what you call a large language model or artificial intelligence, which is a
Totally.
vast ocean of different kinds of platforms. But now you can do these things yourself if you are trained properly, you understand what you can do before. You can get great intelligence, like in the Omaha market, and understand what truly is the sentiment in your market, what is the demographics in your market, what are the psychographics in your market. You don't have to pay someone now to get this. So now access to information, access to actual business intelligence in order to make an intelligent business decision is now at your fingertips.
It truly is. And do you work with the libraries there also in Omaha?
Oh
Because a lot of
yeah,
people don't
I
really.
work with the city of Omaha. I work with all the chambers of Omaha. I have within the last year, that's been my charge to get really involved in the ecosystem and understanding where the help is and understanding that I'm a resource available. And I was able to do my own research utilizing AI to understand, is there a program like mine already being offered in the community? And there was not. There's AI programs, but that's specific for sales and marketing business applications utilizing AI. I'm here to help you, not just teach you AI, but to AI enable your business is the purpose.
And one of the things there, the reason I was asking about the libraries in the area, there's still use of people can go into a library and have free use of a computer, right?
Absolutely. 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 There's
And
no
so
reason not to be able to enable yourself digitally, especially coming out of COVID. We knew, especially coming out of COVID, where the digital divide was. And you had people that didn't have access to a computer, didn't have access to a mobile phone. So you had a lot of public access available. Some people were even giving out laptops because we are in a digital age, a digital society. And without digital tool set and digital knowledge and digital literacy, it's going to be very, very difficult to actually create a living for yourself. So these things must be available, and public access is a big way to do that.
it definitely is, and what we can do, and to be able to use what you're talking about, that it's there. People just need to learn to use it, and that's big with AI. If you don't have a computer, they're available at the library, and once you know how to use AI, it can benefit you personally and professionally in your business to grow wherever you want to go to, right?
100%.
So, well, tell me something a little bit more about what you speak on, not as much on AI with this question, but how does knowing who we truly are, our own personal identity, our own heritage, help shape our confidence and our mental well-being?
That's a Great question. And it's a question that often is in the mind, especially in the minority community. And I'll speak directly to the African American community. Because when it comes to identity, as you trace the experience, the African American experience, the Black experience through the transatlantic slavery time, through America, through Jim Crow, slavery, all of that, it is a it is a troubled story. It's a troubled past, and you have different ways of identifying what that is, right? As from a government standpoint, how were you labeled through that 200, let's say, period of time? And it's not a consistent narrative. And so, but there is some consistency to that narrative, meaning you're always looked upon almost less than. You don't have as much as the rest of the population. Most Europeans coming over here, their process of becoming a citizen was a lot different. So it's a different story, a different narrative. There were, in certain cases, not as many laws were passed just to make sure that you were limited economically. This is a big problem. And I don't think a lot of people realize that only within my own generation that you would have so-called full rights, meaning civil rights was happened in 1964. I was born in 1963. That means my parents were still dealing with redlining and Jim Crow laws, and so what does that do to your identity? But when you start looking at that, right, you start to understand that, wow, this is a very fractured type experience. So it becomes very almost a charge, at least I would say personally, to understand my own story so that I don't have a fractured type way of looking at myself, that I can see myself through time, meaning my heritage and my family. I'm fortunate, especially when I returned to Omaha, to really stand on the fact that I have 100 years of experience on my mother's side, on 100 years of experience on my father's side. That means my heritage and my understanding of identity of myself goes 7 generations deep. This gives me a
Wow.
lot of content and understanding, even though that fractured or American experience has been, I can name myself through that entire narrative. Not everybody has that, and we struggle with our identity. Because if you don't understand identity, and in my framework, my BRAVE framework, as I call it, you see this book behind me. BRAVE is an acronym, like you showed your
Right.
acronym on focus. Mine is on BRAVE. That first B is about brand identity. How do you see yourself? How do you define yourself? Not only do you see yourself, how do others see you? And we'll stop there because that's a very big thing. How does your greater society see you? How do you see yourself? What does that really look like? And you may be surprised what the answer may be.
That's right. And that's one of the things that I talk about often. Matter of fact, it's one of the things that I started in. I mentioned earlier pre-meeting, I went through a divorce.
Mhm,
And when I went through a divorce, that's 89, I was looked at negatively because I was male.
mhm,
It was a situation, again, though, just like our races. We are a human race. I put it, there's one of my articles, I talk about human, put the E for excellence back on human, and it becomes humane because we are all humans. But too many times, our government, as you mentioned earlier, for one, gives us labels. And we
mhm,
have learned about these labels growing up. I talk about culture, I talk about education, and the things that we learn going forward because we are all just different shades of tan. Some of us are darker tan, some of us are lighter tan, but we all have one of four blood types, right, Grant? Everybody's
yeah.
either type A, type B, type AB, or type O. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what color your skin is, or how dark it is, how light it is. You go to the hospital, they don't say, well, I was injured in an automobile accident back in 1976, Hattiesburg, Mississippi. They didn't say, well, he's going to college and he's done this and he's done that. Let's find people who are that way.
Mhm,
No, they didn't do that at all. They said, who's donated blood? Doesn't matter what their skin color was, doesn't matter what their education was. They didn't ask them if they had too many earrings. They didn't ask them if they had a nose ring. They didn't ask them, well, did they have tattoos? They didn't ask
Yeah.
any of that. But that blood, I have to be A positive, but that blood, which is shared amongst all of us, those have A positive, or of course, O negative is the international donor, but that blood that comes in all of us is the same no matter what the color of our skin is, the education level, joking about the number of earrings that we wear, the tattoos that we have. It's about us understanding each other, knowing our heritage, and knowing what we've done wrong so we can improve and then build the world for better tomorrow, right?
100%. And that's the holistic view. I'll give you an example from my own lived experience in life. I remember when I was in my early 30s, and I had met my ex-wife is a Native American, and I had spoken to a Native American elder, especially when I was out in New Hampshire. And he was beginning to talk about culture and that, his language, and he understood his language, and some of the different practices that they've done for thousands of years, actually, in the same area. And this was in the Michigan area. A lot of people don't know that Michigan is a name for a turtle in the Anishinaabe language. But these are the Native
Oh, I didn't
Americans
know
that
that.
have been in the area for a very long time. And he began to tell me all of this, and there was a group of people there, and I began to get kind of sad within myself. And he asked me, "So why are you sad?" I said, "Because I have no connection with that within my own ancestry. I don't know my ancestral language. I don't know my ancestral cultural ways, different rights." He said, "I've lost all that." And he looked me straight in the eye, and he said, "You don't know who you are." And I went, "Well, yeah, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So tell me who you are." And he said, "Well, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. I'm a man. I'm African American." I said, "No, no, 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 no. You don't know who you are." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "You are a human being. And as a human being, you can communicate with any other human being, no matter the king or a barber, on the level of being a human being." That goes back to identity. So when you walk into any corporate room, you go walk into a restaurant, you walk into any organization or anything outside your particular cultural experience or race or wherever it may be, you're always a human being. You're always interacting with other human beings. And because of that, that erased a lot of that bias. Remember, at this time, this is Rodney King had happened. There's Million Man Marches happening. Unfortunately, the Black experience has always been identified in a racial lens because of the conditions of the country. And it's just what it is. So to transcend that, you have to then get a different perspective on being a human being first, not just a Black human being first. I'm a human being, but I am a African American person, right? In culture. So that is a leap that we have to make in order to get above some of these things that are self-limiting.
Well, let me touch on that a little bit because I appreciate what you're saying. I love to talk about the heritage, but I don't talk to anyone about being a Scottish American. My family's from Scotland.
Right.
I don't say I'm a Scottish American. I'm a full-blooded American. Matter of fact, on Independence Day, I told people it's not America's 250th anniversary. It's the United States of America's 250th anniversary. Because it's not to the South America or Central America or North America. Canada didn't celebrate 250 years on that same day. We are what we make ourselves, aren't we, Grant? And
Yes. Good.
I may be from Scotland, but the bottom line is I'm a full-blooded American and I'm here with you as humans, as
Mhm.
humane as we define ourselves, as we've learned, as our culture brings about for us, right?
And see, and that's where the difference lies, because there was not any laws, meaning governmental laws, the United States passed against Scottish people just to have the right to vote, just to have the right to live in the world that you were at, to have economic opportunity. So that's where the differences lie. You're like, wow, I didn't get my full, and that's where you say, where do I get my full citizenship? We celebrate Juneteenth. like Juneteenth, because at that point we gained freedom some hundred,
They,
almost 100 years later. So you're like, wow, there's this disconnect there. And it takes a journey to get to that full, I feel American, where you feel African American, if I will.
Mhm. And that's one of the things that we want to appreciate that heritage because we have to learn from those falsehoods that we created ourselves, those labels that we created ourselves. And we know that if we talk about the people that were shipped here
Mhm.
from Africa, South Africa, there were people of all colors doing that. It wasn't that the white people only did that. There were people of all colors utilizing that because, again, money and
Money.
finances is what drove us. And that
That right.
issue is universal even today.
Mhm.
Luckily today, skin color is not a driver like it was then. Today we know more
Mhm.
because of people like Jim Crow, so many people, Martin Luther King Jr. We know that because people stood up, but everything that happened was about money and about finances. And that's where those labels, even today, are
Mhm.
created, aren't they?
Yeah, you're starting to see the same challenges even now in our Latino community, where they're starting to
Yes.
feel like, wow, I feel like I'm being slighted at this time. They can't tell a difference between someone who has legal rights to be here and somebody's not. So are you really, biased toward them? Like, well, perhaps they may or may not. So that's, I think, the challenge of the American society is that we are a multicultural society. And one side of the ball says it's one truth for all people. And then the other side says it's limited truth for some people. And these are practices. So then you have this dualism that takes place. It's the pursuit of happiness, right? And it's a goal that we have, but it's not always in practice. It's something that we aspire to. But if
Mhm.
someone doesn't stand up for those rights, freedom is not something you just given. It's something that you have to fight for. Otherwise, the colonists would have never separated from England. But to your point, money becomes a defining fact. So a lot of times ideology and then technology becomes those dividing factors if we don't have a good eye on these things. So going back
Mhm.
to identity and things of that nature, how do we see ourselves and giving ourselves an equal opportunity for the pursuit of happiness?
That's so true. And it's like you said, they come up with these sayings, all for one and one for all. Well, except you, or except me. And that's how we lose so much. And we start dividing people again by those labels that we have, because I do look at people, and I have some very close friends that can't help but identify someone because of what they wear or their skin color or something. They've always got to label them for
Yeah,
some reason. And I smile. It's where we were raised. It's that culture, but we've got to be able to understand that those mistakes that were made don't need to be made anymore. Doesn't
correct.
matter what the color of your skin is. Like I said earlier, we are all brothers and sisters one way or another, each and every one of us. And that continued process of identifying people because of things they had no control over. And it's just sad that we continue to do that. But our government alone, since you mentioned that earlier, our court system, the judicial system, judges making decisions that are not identifiable in the law.
Yeah.
And that could be judged on someone comes in, one person comes into the courtroom and they're one shade of color, they get this penalty. Next person comes in, lighter, darker skin, whatever, they get a different penalty. That's not that's not justice for all. Justice
No,
for
it's
all except you.
No, those are challenges. Those are big time challenges. Like you talk about, I think the one of the biggest, I would say, civil rights of our time right now, not something in the 60s, our time right now, comes to investment dollars. When it comes to venture capitalists, when it comes to private equity, when it comes to investment, this is how economies are born. most people don't realize only 1%, less than 1% of the potential for that type of investment goes into Black and brown businesses. Less than 1%. So how are you going to grow an economy? How are you going to like, you know what? I can stand up on my own bootstraps, right? Being able to control my own destiny if I only get less than 1% of the available investment dollars within a pool of a $30 trillion economy. That is a problem, a fundamental problem. Who's regulating that? I'm not sure. To your point, the court system, if African Americans, I'll use an example, only 13% of the populations, yet they make up 50% or more or 60% of the prison population, that's not even mathematically possible. So that has to be an intentional type of thing that's occurring. These things, but that's on the low end. Not to say everybody practices that, but when you look at these systems, when I say systemic systems, that these are the facts. And until you can control your own wealth and your own autonomy, these things will persist. So
Mhm.
that is why I want to grow the underserved populations to give them the right tool sets that they can control their own destinies. And then when you have enough wealth within your community, you're not a victim of some of these attitudes that are persistent today.
Mhm. That's one of the things you remind me as you're talking about that. Art Still was on my podcast last year, and he's a fantastic football player. Just everything that he did was great, defensive end. And him and I talked about that, and he said he likes to just, and I do this now as well. Anytime it says race
Yeah.
on income application, just put other. Government made that list up.
Yeah.
They defined that. I didn't. I didn't agree to it. Nobody asked me. So just put other.
You know they
I
don't do that in other countries, right?
exactly.
You know,
They
if you're in
don't.
Germany and you're born, there is no what race you were born. You're just German. I don't know what it is in the American US psyche, but for whatever reason they have to label, and based on that label, you're going to get a certain experience.
Right. That's exactly right. So what we need to do, and this is another one of those speeches I talk about, Grant, is before we go to the election, the next election, next time we go to any voting, city, county, state, federal, say, can you write in plain English? Can you write in plain? How many court cases now go to the Supreme Courts? It's astounding
Yeah.
because our judges themselves can't understand the law. So until we start electing representatives and senators that can write and force the writing of our law in plain English, and then when it's in plain English, something we all understand, it can then be translated to any other language so easily through something like AI. So if
Yeah.
when we vote this year, again, city, county, parish, if you're in Louisiana, state, federal, make sure and ask them first, are you going to write laws in plain English?
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of these things they're built in confusion, just like reading a prescription from a doctor. What does that really mean? But now this is where I get back to we were talking about the AI conversation, that you can now take this type of information, feed it into an AI, and get plain under what does this really mean that I can understand it. When you have more intelligence in a society, you can't control it like you used to with just propaganda and things like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're going to have to be upskill to a different intelligence level, right? And then those old ways of doing things begin to truly, fall away. We begin to like these are the facts, and we all have to live within this fact. If I have a game, for instance, I say when I put a monopoly board down on you, we are on a monopoly board, right? And I tell everybody has starts from go. Everybody gets $200 when they pass go, and everybody has an opportunity to gain property, to create a monopoly, and to get a business we call a hotel. Until that is the case, you're not really living on a monopoly board. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're going to limit you because you're a certain race. We're going to limit you because you're a certain religion. We're going to limit you because you're a certain sexuality. We're going to limit you. Like, well, who's really controlling this board and what is it really about? So to get parity and equity, it takes a challenge to the voting box. But to your point, who doesn't want that to happen and why? Usually it's the people with the money. They don't want that to happen because they might lose some of their money.
And I'm sorry, but you were just bringing up so many good points. I mean, Grant, I love what you're talking about because that's also what I talk about in my 20-60-20 rule. It
Hmm.
comes off the Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, but 20% of the people are going to find something wrong with everything that happens. Now, it's not always 20%. It could be 3%. It could be 45%. But there's going to be a small percentage, a smaller percentage that's going to not like almost anything that comes up. There's going to be the other side, the other top 20%. And again, it's not exactly 20, that's going to be big and happy to make things happen and grow. And then there's going to be that middle, that 60% that says, let's just work together and build going forward. And
Yeah.
that's why we need that 60% to grow. So it is 3% on the other side, 3% on the other side, or 1 to 3%. But that 97% in the middle is the driving force for all of us to create a better world, right?
No, 100%. And that's where that silent majority, I think in our day and age right now, has to speak up. If you don't agree with the and I'm going to say just the overarching agenda that the country is going in, then you have to speak up. And you have to speak up in a way that makes sense. And you have to call it out. Like, we have to create an even playing field. I don't want government assistance. I want an even playing field. Give me an even playing field so I can go out and compete. Don't start me off at the 20-yard line when everybody else is at the 50-yard line and say, well, hey, how come you can't keep up? This is the problem, right? And so our systems need to be overhauled in a certain way. But to your point, there's people that control those systems that don't want that to happen because they benefit from it. And
Back
so
to money.
big time money. When you've got 1% of the world controlling, I think it was like 80% of the dollars, that's a big deal. But I will say this, and I will say this emphatically. This is what happened in France. They said, let them eat cake, meaning that the aristocracy and the royalties had put so much economic pressure on the people that they revolted. And that's what happens. When you get out of control inflation, you get out of control wars, you get out of control policies, people say, you know what, I'm sick of this. And in our world, we vote them out. But we can't just vote them out. We have to change the overarching policies that create the conditions in the first place. And until that changes, nothing changes.
And that's what we need to be, reality focused. And that's one of my domains, realityfocus.com. We have to know the reality, and enough of us don't. And we're not teaching it right because, as you mentioned, there are people who can control that information that too many people, and especially on the minority side, that don't understand the value.
Mhm.
Where's the value? There's so much value in us voting and voting judges out of office. And we can do that. So it's about us knowing and us all
And
working
knowing who those
together.
judges are, don't you hate to get a ballot for all these judges? Like, I have no idea who these people are and what they stand for. We have to take the time to investigate who it is and how do they fit in my world, and are they really for or against my particular belief system? Going back to identity, what is this really about? Vote consciously. Not everything that comes from one party means it's all right, and the opposite. You have to look at these things realistically and see how does this help you overall, and maybe it's a good thing for all the people. Who knows? But vote with your conscience and don't vote blindly. Get the right information. You now can get speed to market is really big with an AI enabled platform. And we're coming into what I call an AI context aware internet type of business, or then business, just application period. So you can get information now and understand what people are talking about. Does it make sense for you, your community, and your family? And vote consciously and understand what's really taking place. And to your point, you've got to understand the board. If money is really the driver for all these things, to get around the board, to get the car, to avoid going to jail and pass and go, you got to understand where the money is flowing and then make a conscious decision to change those things if it's going to be in your favor.
That's so true. And as you're talking about there, you mentioned earlier, change the subject just a little bit, but one thing you talked about was a brand earlier. Can you
Yeah.
help me with what you mean by the brand buried in your bloodline? And I love the way that was said and why our heritage matters so much in leadership.
This is very important, at least for me in my world, understanding that when you are born in this world, you come with an inheritance. The heritage comes from your family. And that could be your first generation, your mother and father. It could be the second generation, your older parents, your grandparents, your grandfathers, your grandmothers, and so forth and so forth. If you do not know what that is, you limit your own inheritance and you limit your own brand identity. And what does that look like? When you can inherit, for me, I inherit 200 years of experience just in the Omaha area. So when I come back, I am not coming back to a society that I don't know, people don't know me and I don't know them. And I can point out all kinds of different markers and experiences that I had, especially growing up. It's a very powerful thing, right? That you can identify again who you are. It makes you comfortable and confident in your community and what you represent. And then other people will respect that, right? So having respect for yourself goes a lot to that brand, a lot of that buried bloodline of who you are, especially in a storied past of being African American. And where does that go? A lot of times, and one things that I really promote is like we cannot start in the transatlantic slave time. You got to go all the way back to West Africa. You got to go into Timbuktu. You've got to go into Songhai. You've got to go into the worlds of Grenada, meaning in the Moor world, right? Back in southern Spain, things like that. This is what was going on before the transatlantic slave period, right? These are societies. These societies had mathematics. These societies had arithmetic. You got to get beyond the colonial view of what they promoted as the African experience was that you were just savages and you didn't know anything. You're completely ignorant. And when they brought you over, you were doing you a favor, which is completely false. So starting that story far beyond that, that's a 400 or 500 year period. We're talking thousands of years of who you are and what you represent. That gives you brand identity that carries forth and it makes you feel good about yourself and who you are and then where you need to go forward. This is a time for us to really rebuild that entire identity of what we represent over many thousands of years, make it happen. And to your point, we're part of the human family. We all have our strengths, we all have values, and we have certain ingenuities and skill sets that we need to apply for all of us to benefit from.
And when we look at our brand, we want to make sure we realize that others have brands also. And whatever it is, it's not wrong if they're not hurting someone else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
No,
that
Asian
is so
population,
important.
there's so many populations of people. It's a tapestry. It's a beautiful thing. I lived in Miami, Florida for 30 years. There's so many ethnicities there that you cannot um, assume someone's culture just by looking at them. If I saw you, Mark, on the street and I saw you walking down the street, I said, oh, well, that person could be Cuban, that person could be Jewish, that person could be Australian, they can be English, a number of different things. I cannot assume your identity just based on the color of your skin. I have to allow you to identify yourself. And based on that identity, that's how I interact with you.
I love how you just said that, though. How you allow someone to identify themselves. Because we identify ourselves because of our culture, our heritage, our learning, our knowledge, and what we have done since that first time that doctor slapped our butt. Excuse me. And we've grown from there. Because as I see these all the time, can't remember her name, Claire, I think is this, puts it out there. Don't teach me your prejudices of yesterday.
Mhm.
And that is so
Right.
true.
Yeah.
It's what we are today and what we can do. We don't want to forget what happened yesterday because we have to learn from it and not repeat it.
Thank
But
you.
what we have to do today is look at each other, whatever color our skin is, And if I don't like earrings, that's okay. If the other person does, they're not hurting me. They're not going
Yeah.
to force me to put one in. They have tattoos. They have them, what I may consider too many. They have it on their face. Is that hurting me? No, not at all. So a person's skin color, because their parents were in love and they had a child that has darker skin, lighter skin. I could talk, we only have about 9 more minutes, but I spent the winter in Mexico a couple of years ago. I came
Mhm.
back from Mexico. I was at a Hearst dealership, renting a car. The lady there didn't think I could speak English. I had just come from Mexico. She knew that. And so she was talking slowly to me and trying to explain things. And I says, I know that. And I mean, her eyes just, whoa. She thought I was from Mexico and she had rated people from
Mhm.
Mexico. Why do we do that? Why don't we ask, if we want our own identity, why don't we let others have theirs?
To me, it's a mental disease, a mental disorder. Going back to what I said about the Native American elder telling me the first order of business, you are a human being. You're just human being. If you go to a lot of, especially Native American cultures, when you ask them what does the name mean of like Dakota is the name, really the first name of the Sioux people, all it means is the people, the human beings. You're just human beings. If we look at ourselves as, first of all, human beings and identify from that, then everything will be a lot easier and a lot better. But it's a process of maturity as a human.
Maturity. I like that.
Yeah, it's maturity around that. I had to mature, come from the Midwest culture, going down to really a Caribbean culture in Miami to understand that. Not everybody, just because a person is of African descent, let's say, doesn't identify with the African American story. They could be Haitian, they could be Dominican, they can be Bahamian, they can be from a lot of different places. That really is not a part of their story. So when you understand that, you say, this is my story. It definitely is, but it doesn't mean it's everybody's story, right? So you start to allow other people to tell their story and what that's all about.
Don't force your story on me. I won't
Correct.
force my story on you, right?
Yeah, yeah. But respect other people's story.
Respect.
Respect other people's stories. So when you understand that, and I'll just end on this, in the American experience, I think one of the problems is that we shy away from that true story and understand there's a causal relationship with these different things. So when you see, I had a gentleman, like we're doing a Black Professionals Month that later, and I just said, why does it have to be Black? I said, because we are in a state of a renaissance, of reinventing ourselves. This is the first generation of my age of having what you call true in autonomy within the American economy. And so now we've got to create that. We have $1 billion, $1 trillion worth of worth and value, but it's not connected. We have to bring it together to create leverage. Otherwise, we're always going to be scattered and we're never going to heal the way we need to get our identity back to where it once was prior to.
That is so true because there's a lot of bridges that won't be built because bridges are expensive. So they will just let those gaps hang in certain areas and only build the bigger bridges where they can finance it. Back to money. When there's a lot of bridges that we can't let go,
Yeah.
we've got to think about what happened yesterday. And again, like I said, don't repeat it. History just repeats itself.
Right.
That's what we've got to stop from happening. That we work together. And we can do that. And it can start today with each of us.
I'm glad it started with you, Mark. I didn't know you at all before. You reached
Thank you.
out, you looked at my profile, like, hey, I like this guy. I think I want to bring him on my show. Here we are. We're talking as two human beings about different problems and solutions at the same time. Nothing that we cannot agree on. And he's like, this is a good thing. But we also understand that I think I'm just going to call it a mental disease out there it has to go away. We cannot continue as a human race segmenting ourselves like this. We're cutting ourselves off our own life force, and we're all interconnected on this island.
We are. That is so true. And that is my company. I didn't say this earlier, but you just mentioned the word solutions. And my company is Reality Focused Dynamics, creating solutions one reality at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing we don't think about enough. There are solutions out there if we are focused on the realities, the reality in front of us.
Correct. I like that. Yeah.
And none of us are any different. Doesn't matter about our skin color, doesn't matter about even our education. There's no one that's not educated that can't be educated.
Right.
There's mental things in the health industry, I know that. But that's that's people we can still help with the education the rest of us have.
Yeah.
It's about us, and I will be speaking about this through November and through November 2 years from now and next November. We've got to elect people that can write and want to write in
Mm.
plain English.
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Our judicial system and our legislative system writes the laws for our judicial system. So we can't blame the judicial system.
Mm.
It's our legislative system, which are the people that we elect.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Right, Grant? No doubt about it. Oh, well, look at that. 3 more minutes.
Accountability. That's exactly right.
Accountability and responsibility, taking action in those things that we do each and every day. Grant, it's been a pleasure having you today. I love this so much. One last question as we close.
Yes,
Will you
sir.
share one first step that myself and our listeners can take this week and tell us where to find you?
I think the first step, I would say, look into your own heritage, especially now when we just celebrated July 4th, right? We just celebrated our independence. Look if you can find, if it's possible, what was your family doing during this time, whether it was still in this country or in another country? Understanding your own lineage and what your family has been, what your family struggle has been, where you are now, gives you now a sense of purpose. And understanding that purpose, you then can fulfill your mission in your life. And then as you hand that down to this next generation, whether your children and grandchildren, what they may be, that will give you true purpose and understanding where you go next. If you want to find out more about myself and what I do at 5-Star BDM, that's for brand development and marketing, go to their website at 5starbdm.com. You'll see a lot of information there. I have over 270 podcasts that I have done with healthcare leaders,
Thank
technology
you.
leaders, brand masters throughout the world. And it'll start to educate you on a lot of different things for your benefit. So I leave you with that.
That's great. 5-Star BDM. That's brand development marketing.
It's brand development masters when you say it like that,
Actually,
or
okay.
business development and marketing.
Business development marketing. Okay, good. That'd be it. Because we could look that up. I just look up
Oh,
for Grant McGaugh
oh
and
yeah, I'll
look
pop
out
up.
there. Right. And just find Grant. Get in touch with him. Let's all work together. Him and I will stay in touch. We will continue working together. So, Grant, thank you again for sharing your wisdom, your journey, and your heart with us today.
Likewise, Mark.
Oh,
Yes.
my pleasure. One of the greatest reminders, I think, from today's conversation is that leadership isn't something that we put on. It is something that we grow into
Mhm.
through that identity, that authenticity, that resilience, that
Yes.
service, and continuous learning.
Yes.
Thank you for helping us even celebrate Minority Mental Health Awareness Month because it's
Awesome.
what we all need. I need mental health awareness. It's not about education or skin color or anything else. We all need to help grow our own mental health while reminding us that healing ourselves often is the first step toward helping others, right?
And
So before we close today's podcast, Grant, I'd love for you to leave our audience with one memorable thought that they can carry with them after today's conversation. Do you have one thought you could leave with us?
telepathy is not a strategy. You're going to have to become visible and have a point of view about what's important to you.
A point of view, telepathy. Point of view, what's important to you. I like that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Grant. So in today's conversation, one thing comes clear. Real change will only happen when people like Grant, myself, and you come together with, as he's mentioned a couple of times, purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And when that vision meets action. So I hope you took a picture of the slide earlier with Grant's QR code, with my QR code. If not, this full podcast is recorded and it's also on YouTube Live. Go to YouTube at Mark Intrican. Go to markintrican.com/blog. These will all be out there. Go to my YouTube. It'll be out there by Friday, Saturday morning. Listen to us again. But yeah, YouTube /at Mark Intrican. Come back and give us feedback. I know Grant and I want this to continue growing and building. And hope you remember, we need to be focused. If you need to get hold of me, you can always call me at 303 Focused, 303-362-8733, as we all help not just America's, but the United States of America growing forward, because that is where a lot of the prejudices that we see today started. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you all. And thank you, Grant, so much for being here, for your message, and for helping us understand that our authentic leadership begins the moment we stop pretending and start becoming.
I like that.
Personally and professionally. Thank you. So until next week, this is Mark Intrican with the Achieving Unity Leadership System, reminding you that life is truly what we make it. So let's make it awesome together, achieving unity. Let us help everyone around us feel seen, heard, and supported in everyday moments, the ones that truly matter, and make life awesome together in unity. Hope to see you all again next week with our next step in remembering unity is not a soft skill. It is a leadership discipline. Grant, thank you again so much. Appreciate you. Till next week. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye-bye.